I feel like I'm just reading dark books with a lot of trauma. This is gonna ruffle so many feathers. My brain feels decayed. Hello everybody and welcome to my first ever 24-hour readathon. My heart is beating so fast. I had to plan my whole sleep schedule around this, but I am ready to lock in. I feel that we as a society, as a community, have really normalized the 24-hour readathon, when in reality, this is such an insane, crazy thing that people do. It's kind of like when women give birth. Okay, hear me out. Hear me out. If I ever gave birth, it would be everyone's problem. I would be bragging about it all the time. And yet when I talk to women I know who have given birth, they're like, yeah, I guess I did that. Okay, let's bring this energy into the 24-hour readathon. You did that. That's really impressive and so baller. Obviously, very different levels of impressiveness there, different scales of effort going into these two examples. All this to say though, do you know who do both of these things? Women. So yeah, welcome to my readathon, and if you're a feminist, you'll probably like it here. I want to join the ranks of the cool girls who do the 24-hour readathon. The most I've ever done is 6 hours, and by hour 4, I was struggling, but I'm in the mindset today, and I have some coping skills that we're gonna use. Also, I should say, I'm going to use the Emmy Rossum method, which is rather than reading for 24 hours straight, I'm going to read for 12 hours a day, 2 days in a row, because nothing is worth sacrificing sleep. I know I said I had to work on my sleep schedule last night to prepare. That was just me making sure I was really well rested and prepared for this video. Okay, let's get into my coping mechanisms, my strategies, if you will. Number 1, audiobooks. I really just struggle to sit still. But if I can listen to audiobooks throughout the day, I'll be hiking, I'll be doing hobbies, I can pet my dog. I do want to read, like sit and read for a lot of this, but I can't for all of it, and I do know that. So if you're someone who feels like audiobooks don't count as reading, you are not safe here. Actually, I am not safe here with you because I will be using them all day. Number 2, caffeine. Lots of it. And finally, my third strategy is pertaining to the actual reading materials and what I think I can read for this amount of time. I've got this big stack of books here. Let's go through really fast what I think I could read in this video. I'm giving myself permission to be chaotic. Maybe I'll read 20 pages of one book here. I'll listen to another book here for a few hours. I'll stick to my TBR for some. I'll pick up rereads for others. I know for sure that I want to start off strong with a book I simply cannot wait any longer to start. And it's also on my TBR. So that is Yesteryear. I'm sure you've heard of it. This has been everywhere. Other TBR books I have are Thistlemarch and the Poet Empress if I want some fantasy, and The Love Hypothesis. I feel like this one could be so fun to read. Just a nice, silly, goofy romance. Actually, I really don't know much about this book, but I'm excited to jump in. I think it will be fun. Also, Lost Souls Meet Under a Full Moon, which is short. So if I need a burst of motivation, if I want to finish a book, I can always lean into this one. As for rereads, I can always dive back into the Shadowhunters world with the Red Scrolls of Magic. This is one of my favorite books in the universe, in the Shadowhunters universe, not in the whole entire universe, though I do really love it. I think at any moment, if I need an escape from being clocked in at the reading factory, I can escape into Alec and Magnus's love story. Game plan is basically just have headphones on for the rest of the day if I'm not sitting down to read, but I'm going to take my dogs on a hike, go to the grocery store, get some lunch. We're gonna settle into the woods and hang out for a few hours, and I'm gonna start Yesteryear. Back home now. My timer is paused at 20 hours 52 minutes and I'm on chapter 17 of about 57 and I have 4.5 hours left in the audiobook. This book makes me feel disgusting. It's so icky. Complimentary. Every word of this book is smothering me in misogynistic and patriarchal nonsense coming from a woman who is actively benefiting off of male privilege. When the story starts, Natalie Heller-Mills loves her life. She's a very successful influencer, and everything is set up within her control and set up perfectly. They have nannies for their kids. She has a producer for her content. They have farm hands for their farm. So basically, they're living an extremely performative lifestyle, minus the hard work, and they've monetized off of it. My expectation going into this story was that our main character would have a very narrow lens of the world, and that she would think womanhood looked a certain way. And based on the time travel that we know occurs, that she would slowly realize that womanhood doesn't look like one particular thing, and that maybe feminism can be beautiful. That is not what we're getting here. Okay, this is much more on the nose to the point where it's almost satirical. But the funny part is then she wakes up in the past. It's 1855. She's in her house without all the renovations, and she's married to her husband, but he seems to be a crueler version, and she has children, but they're not the same, and she is not handling it well. She is now forced to live the life she fakes. Oh, it's so good. It's such a good premise. I'm curious to see if we explore the time travel and why it's happening, or if it will be an it is what it is situation. There's a chance the time travel could supply more plot, or maybe her character development, I doubt she'll develop at all, will be the main story leading us forward. I really don't know where we're going from here. Entered the realm of horror. Something so bad has happened, and the way that she interprets what has happened and what that means for her moving forward, it's disturbing. Just when I think things can't get more unsettling and uncomfortable, they do. There's kind of a dual timeline situation going on now where we're jumping from the past to the present, and you'd think I would like the present day timeline more because women have more opportunities and it's modern day, but both are just dark black holes because of the main character. Listen to this quote. "It is, in theory, a beautiful thing to witness. A teenage girl unfurling herself like a flower, desperate to feel the warmth of a man's attention on her face." It's been 6.5 hours now. I have an hour and a half left in this book, and it's just so haunting. I still feel gross, but I'm also intrigued. I think this entire book is just very black and white, and it could benefit from more nuance, but that's just not the direction she's going. That got me a little teary at the end. I was not expecting that. For the first 92% of this book, I couldn't put it down, but I also didn't like it very much. And then for the last 8%, I loved it. I'm gonna need some time to process what I just read. There's no way I can comment on it yet. So I think I'm gonna go on a little walk, pause the timer, and think about it. Okay, I have walked, I'm back, I've thought about it. I am giddy right now. Honestly, I love when a book can surprise me. You'd think I would have seen the twist coming. I didn't, not at all. Now looking back, it seems so obvious. I thought this book was feeding me a singular narrative. I didn't think the main character had any complexity. I spent over 50% of this thinking, what is the point if not just for entertainment? Because I'm not picking up on any deeper messaging. And then towards the end, it just flipped entirely and it all clicked. This is gonna ruffle so many feathers. This is going to be a very controversial book. I think a lot of people are going to hate it, take offense from it. And honestly, to that I say there's a strong theme of Christianity, but we need to pick up on the fact that our main character is not a practicing Christian. She talks about God a lot, but she never actively practices Christianity. And I've heard people say that they're mad because a lot of the Bible quotes she's constantly regurgitating are incorrect. And I actually think that adds to the nuance of her character because it shows that her faith or lack of is just performative, and being performative is what drives Natalie's character. I think the patriarchy can be hurting you while you're actively choosing to benefit from it. At what point does that make you a victim, and at what point does that make you a villain? I think the author went straight for the throat when it comes to trad wife influencing, which is a relevant topic in the year 2026. Some of the themes in this book, like filming your kids and exploiting your life on social media, those are things that happen in real life. Being a trad wife influencer is inherently political. I also think there's a conversation here about hiding yourself away from the world versus immersing yourself in it, especially as a parent, as an ex-Mormon girly. This is giving me a lot to think about. And I'm sure as time goes by, I will have more and more thoughts. But there was a time where I thought, okay, this will be kind of like a 4-star vibe based on entertainment, but I'm not sure what I'm getting from it on a deeper level. No, I think that's a 5-star. I gotta give credit where credit is due. And a book that makes me feel so giddy and makes me think this hard deserves a 5-star. I don't think I'm a fast reader, you guys. It took me 9 hours to finish the first book. I did take breaks, but I didn't take breaks that were longer than 20 minutes. 1 book down and 15 hours to go. So we have 3 hours left for today and then our 12-hour reading day tomorrow. I feel like I could have a second 5-star read in this readathon. The TBR is so strong. I think why not just start my next 5-star prediction, The Poet Empress by Shen. And if I feel like my brain's starting to rot from reading too much, I will pick up the Red Scrolls of Magic since it's a reread. I've heard this is a standalone high fantasy that will make me sad and that it takes place in an alternate Chinese-inspired world, that it's a historical fantasy, that it has politics and poetry magic. I've heard it's not a romance and that it gets really dark. And that's everything I know. This edition is so gorgeous. It has gold sprayed edges. The end papers are insane. The hardcover is insane. I really hope I like the book because I'm happy that I own it and I would like to keep it. Okay, new location, 3 hours left. My brain is starting to rot. I'm struggling to focus. And I'm surprised that didn't happen sooner, but I think we just started off so strong with Yesteryear. Content warnings are dark, that's for sure. And I'm really glad she put them in so that I can get into this headspace. It's day 2. I am 2 hours into my 12-hour day, and I am genuinely in a flow state. I thought I would be a big baby about this readathon. I was so nervous. I didn't think I'd be able to really lock in, keep the momentum going. I thought I would want a break. It's been fine, and I think that's just because the reading material has been peak. I will say there are many moments throughout the day where I will pause my book to let my brain think for a second, to sing a song, or to actually take in the books I'm reading, or to just have thoughts, because I do think it's hard to be constantly computing information all the time. I'm 137 pages into The Poet Empress, and I absolutely love it. The theme of this readathon seems to be terrors of society inflicting pain onto innocent good people. There's a definite theme in this book that's been repeated multiple times, and it's if you refuse to be cruel to someone else, someone will be cruel to you first. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me share what this is actually about. Our main character, Wei, is from a small, close-knit village that is being affected and consumed by famine. And then one day, a messenger from the Azalea dynasty which is where the emperor lives. He comes through their village. He says, I am collecting young women to be concubines for the next emperor. It's so rare for anyone in Wei's village to have a way to advance their position. And so she throws herself at this man and she's like, take me, accept me. And he says, the prince is gonna laugh at you. You're not beautiful, you're not smart, you're nothing. And she's like, okay, well, if he's gonna laugh, make me his joke. Prove it, take me. And then he takes her. So now she's training to be a concubine alongside all of these women from all over the empire, but they're all from a more privileged position than Wei, so she's definitely at the bottom of the food chain. And the lessons that they are getting are frankly disturbing. They're from older men and they're teaching them sex tips and how to please a man. And there's all these like fancy names for different techniques, but they're not educating the women at all. They're only teaching them about male pleasure. Mind you, this man, Prince Terran, that they're all trying to get with is a horrible, cruel person. But Wei is desperate to help her family because she knows they're starving. So she kind of throws herself into it. Oh, and there's also the magic system, which is poetry magic, which I think is so cool. But in order to keep women from having any type of magic, they don't let them learn to read. We've just unlocked a new POV that I really like. It's bringing a lot of depth to the history of the Azalea dynasty and how we got where we are, which it's crumbling a little bit. It's kind of on the edge of falling apart. I just really like the writing. I like our main character. It's very nice to be in the head of someone who's a good person after reading Yesteryear. I needed that. Though, this is really dark and it's a lot to take in. I feel like I'm just reading dark books with a lot of trauma. So that is why I also started reading the Red Scrolls of Magic. The premise for this book is boyfriends go to Europe to have a nice vacation and end up needing to disband a demon cult. This is a Shadowhunter book, and if you know or love Alec and Magnus in any capacity, I cannot recommend it more. There's enough conflict for it to be a good story, but it's also less stressful than her main trilogies, so it's just like this perfect, delicious book. And the audiobook is amazing. I would say The Bane Chronicles is the book that made me fall in love with Magnus and Alec, and then this just cemented it. I'm 73 pages into this one, 140 pages into this one. I'm trying not to think ahead or think about if I'll finish them today or if I'll finish one or both, because I just want to have fun. So I think I'm gonna read in my car for a bit. I'm at one of my favorite parking lot mountain overlooks, and I might walk around as well because I do have my headphones and I have the audiobooks for both of these. Evolved into a story about sibling angst and sibling relationships set in a political landscape. You know the story is good when there's a "but he's my brother" line. The synopsis says that our main character Wei gets caught in the middle of something, in the middle of a civil war, but I didn't realize how much we would go into that conflict, and I'm really enjoying how it's being executed. With this and Yesteryear, there's been a lot of diving into complicated characters who are kind of inherently evil and realizing that they weren't born that way and looking into what made them the way that they are. I have 150 pages left. It's 2:28 p.m. and I have 7.5 hours left in my total readathon. Previously had a very different definition of brain rot. No, this is brain rot like I've never known. My brain feels decayed. If I have to listen to one more word, my brain might implode. Like, it hurts. But I still have 4.5 hours left. I'm giving myself a break now that I've finished The Poet Empress. Normally with a book like this, I would need the rest of the night to decompress and to process the deep themes that I just read. But with a 24-hour readathon, you can't do that. You just gotta jump into the next book. The clock is ticking. I feel like my brain is breaking. I'm also just really hungry. So I need to eat, and then I need to discuss this book with you guys because I have so many thoughts. Shout out Pinterest. That's where I got this recipe. Chicken apple sausage, sweet potatoes, chickpeas, and broccoli. And I'm gonna put feta on top. This is gonna clog my pores. You know those books that people talk about with a strong sense of reverence? It's palpable and you're not sure what it is, but you can feel it. That's the sense I got from the poet Empress, and now that I'm on the other side, I get it. The first thing I'll say is to take these content warnings seriously. This is an extremely dark book, though I do think that the author handles that darkness with a lot of care. There were 3 books I constantly kept thinking of while reading The Poet Empress, so if you liked any of these 3, I think you'll like this one. If you were inspired by the concept of Sarah going through hell and being so incredibly resilient in Daughter of the Forest, if you liked the political posturing and the concept of an underprivileged woman clawing her way to the top in The Cruel Prince, and if you liked the ambiance and atmosphere and the concept of an emperor being replaced in The Raven Scholar, this is a great combo of all of those. I was shook, I was gagged for so much of this book, and I was horrified. The main theme I took from it is about how power can corrupt you. It also talks about how an oppressive system is harming everyone on different scales, and we dive into how a child is innocent, but at what point and what does it take to strip that innocence away, and how does that trauma affect you? I mean, seriously, this and Yesteryear forces you to take a psychotic, cruel person and see why they are the way that they are. This has been a very exploring human nature, getting deep into the psychology of humanity type of readathon. As it turns out, that's my shit. So 5 stars. I cannot believe I've had 2 5-star reads in a row. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about this. I told my partner that the themes are very M.L. Wong coded, but the writing wasn't quite up to par with hers. I mean, the bar is high. She's one of my favorite authors ever. And this was a debut novel. I think the main question this leaves the reader with is how far would you go for the people that you love? How willing are you to corrupt your soul to help others? And that's always going to be a fascinating concept. We have a few hours left, and my final read is the dessert at the end of this feast, which we have been eating good this week, that's for sure. I am going to finish the Red Scrolls of Magic tonight, if I can. I don't know how some people are reading 4 or 5 books in these 24 hours. Slay for them. They set the bar high. I thought I was on their level. I'm not. I'm but a peasant. This is the final lock-in. We got this. So they're at a downworlder party in Venice right now, and they're kind of dealing with something stressful with this cult, but they're also trying to have fun and be present, and that summarizes this whole book. They don't really know how to let loose because they're at an anxious point in their relationship. The butterflies are there, but there's also a lot of anxiety, and they're trying to understand how they can fit together as a couple. This is what I mean when I say that Alec Lightwood was such a slow burn character for me. There's all of these little moments where he just warms my heart. For example, he's letting loose kind of for the first time. He could see his own face reflected in Magnus's mask, his eyes wide and blue against the glittering carnival around them. He almost did not recognize himself. He looked so happy. He'd always assumed that storybook moments like these were meant for Jace, Isabel, anyone but him. Yet here he was. Maybe his life could be amazing. Maybe it always could have, and he needed Magnus to open the door and let him see all the wonders he held inside himself, all the capacity for joy. And then, of course, something goes wrong. It doesn't stay beautiful for long. Alec is the epitome of anxious attachment, and Magnus is avoidant attachment. And I don't know why those 2 types are always drawn together, but that's just what happens. Done with that book. Done with the readathon. The thing about Cassandra Clare's books is that you'll be wildly entertained, you'll be laughing, you'll be feeling the angst, there's romance, but there's also this thread of radical empathy, this concept of good people challenging corrupt systems, and that's why I love Alex so much, because he has these moments as he's growing up where he says, I'm going to change things, and you just know he means it. His evolution from being a very insecure, unsure teenager in City of Bones to who he becomes in in, what's the newest book? Queen of Air and Darkness? Ghost from the Shadow Market? I don't know. Maybe Secrets of Blackthorn Hall is the newest book, but he grows and evolves and changes so much, and he's just such a beautiful, lovely person. Him and Magnus both have Save the World syndrome, unfortunately, but that makes them very compatible. Unfortunately, because that's probably really stressful for them. If you like the Shadowhunter books, but you have never read this one, you're in for such a treat. I'm actually so jealous. What I would give to read this for the first time again. Also, we get a lot of Helen and Aline and their origin story in this book, and that's why I love all the Shadowhunter side novellas. Cassie Clare will pull in side characters that we know of and give us their origin and just show us more of them, and all of her characters are just very lovable. I ended up reading 77% of this book yesterday. In the evening, I took a lot of breaks. I didn't really have a timer I was going off of. I just played by my own rules, woke up early this morning, read the last hour and a half of the book, and now I am deeming the readathon officially over. I thought by now I would be sick of reading, I would need a break, but I don't feel that way at all, and I think that's because this has been so insanely successful. I would recommend all three of these books with my whole soul. So if you have been thinking about picking any of these up, do it. So I read those three books, a total of 100 pages, 1,168 pages, which means I read around 48 pages per hour. But I don't think that's accurate because, like I said, I wasn't really strict with it. I think I would more sit down and be very committed for a few hours, then take a break. Shout out to these authors because their reading material made it such a great experience. Let me know, as always, if you have read these books and what you thought. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.